Hey everyone. Episode 189 was a bit different. I had Fabien on. Fabien is an old friend who has known me for most of my life, more or less all of it. A kid from around the traps. We both grew up in pretty similar circumstances and had our own journeys over the last 20 years. And he was kind enough to delve into his past, coming from a background in sales and real estate and struggling with anxiety and substance abuse issues. He set up his own therapeutic system involving Neuro Alignment and helping people as a breathwork nervous system regulation coach and helping people with somatic work. A lot discussed, really sort of went deep with this one. It was a lot of fun going back, turning back the page. But yeah, enjoy.
Gentlemen, this is Democracy Madness.
Let's rock.
You killed my father. Prepare to die.
What is it with walking
Leave a message, baby. I'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Yes.
Wait for the moon.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, they're eating the pets of the people that live there. Will you shut up, man?
Weird.
I'm Chris Hansen.
Oh, you gotta get that hawk to it. Spit on that thing.
Unless you're scripted, you're useless. Unless you're scripted, you're useless.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
Yeah, I can.
At any point, man.
Too hurt to cry.
Oh. Are you serious? You're seriously starting with that?
That's what it reminded me of, bro.
That was 97, man.
Yeah.
That was literally 24. Oh no, we're in 2025. That was my first proper recording experience, actually. That's pretty funny.
That was my first and my last.
Man, that was my first proper recording experience. And now you're in this fucking studio just around the corner from where we grew up.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah. Last time I saw you would have been pre-COVID. Maybe it was at the house. Maybe it was at the old house. I remember when I saw you, we were talking. We're on the back veranda of my mum's joint. And I had DMX, the opening loop to Damien.
Yeah.
Rough Riders. And you started laughing. You're like, DMX? I'm like, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I remember the last time.
Yeah, fuck.
But
that would have been like 2016, 2017, I reckon, man.
I know that I've called you and we've chatted like intermittently since then. So it feels like it wasn't that long ago. But I know that you did. Oh, do you know what I remember? In 2020, I know it was 2020 because I was in Hyatt.
2020.
With you, man, it's weird because like you're this vortex of like childhood and teenage years. It's everything that was in vogue when we were in Clayton, like from like 90 to like 2001. When I think of you, because you disappeared. When did you fuck off to was it Wellington?
Year 10, year 11.
Wait, so you were at South Oakley
till year 10.
Really?
Yeah, I did VCE in. I
thought you left earlier.
That was 2000.
I thouck you left earlier.
Well, I was never at school much, but
neither was I. 2011, I wasn't at school at all. What was I going to say? Yeah, I know. In 2020, you did your first workshop via Zoom. It was during peak, like start of COVID.
Yes,
and I jumped on it because I remember I just moved into this apartment in Hyatt, set up my office, and I remember it was like the first different thing I did, like during COVID. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
But I don't remember. Was that about? What was that about?
That would have been
something about harnessing emotions.
Yeah, that would have been managing triggers and changes in in the environment, in what was going on.
Yeah, and since then you've started. Like, I know you were doing sales at that point.
Yes,
sort of.
Just coming out of it.
Yeah.
I was doing sales coaching, mindset, leadership.
That's what you were setting up. Your
Correct.
Sales coaching and mindset shit, and that's where I remember it.
Yeah,
that's when you came back on my radar, because before that you were doing real estate stuff.
Yes.
This is just going back from what I remember. Before that, you were in the mines as well. Like there was a whole, and that's the thing with you, man. Because like I've known you since kindergarten, literally since kindergarten, and we went through primary school together. We went through halfway through VCE, and you were always from like the traps, because like your parents' house was always like a block up from mine.
Yeah,
you know
literally
what I mean?
a Mandarin throwaway.
Oh, man. Do you remember when we were throwing those gum nuts across the car slams his brakes? We all just scatter. And I think it was you that ran into Nick's house and came out the front door like you heard noise.
Yeah.
Shit, man.
Right.
So that's why I can really compartmentalize like my actual timeline with you. But there's a big gap between finishing school and then when you started sort of real estate.
Yeah. Yeah, there was, I reckon, leaving school.
See, with you, but man, this is what made me laugh was that when you reappeared in like 2020 on the radar doing the mindful shit and like starting that sort of journey, it fucking tripped me up because I'm like, this guy?
Yeah.
Really? Like, I know where you grew up.
Yeah,
you grew up in the same house that I grew up in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was nice, like, to see someone actually, like, it's weird, man, because I got, like, my one thing, I've got I can take a snapshot of you from, like, 1990 to 99, 2000, and I know exactly who you are.
Yeah.
But then the last 5 years...
Not much has changed, right?
Nah.
No, you know what I mean.
Hang on,
that's
man.
That's still a part of me.
You're still you.
Yeah.
Nah, but
like you're still you, right?
Yeah, exactly. But there's no way I could ever profile up the person you were like growing up to who you are now. I would never have assumed that's where it would have gone.
Nah.
And it's nothing that I would have ever assumed you'd be in touch with.
Nah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I went through the same shit. And it's like when I tell people like, there's people I haven't seen in 20 years and like, fuck man, you've changed. I'm like, yeah, well you had to. Because either you don't or you fucking die. Like,
well, you change either way.
Yeah.
It's just like whether you change, not necessarily for the better, but you know, the change either forces you to improve or decay, right? Okay,
so hang on, man. I feel like there's got to be a gap because it needs context to all this as well, right? So wait a second. Firstly, this is just curiously, what made you jump out of year 10 to go to another high school?
At that time, I was just getting in trouble for everything. Me, Marcus, Abdi, rest in peace.
Who?
Abdi.
Abdi? Yeah, I heard something about that not long ago, but...
I was getting blamed for everything. Like, keys went missing, something got stolen, Fabien, Marcus, report to the office. That was just like every week. And then...
To be fair, were the keys stolen by you?
No, they actually weren't. They weren't.
Hang on.
Somebody else actually, I know who did it actually. He lives in Cyprus now.
I'm only asking, because like it trips me too, because like I see all your posts and stuff, right? So like context, like what is it you're actually focusing on now?
So now I do. It's interesting, man. There's another transition to play, but ultimately, in a nutshell, what I do is I run these workshops that are called the Reset Experience.
Yeah. I saw the videos of you doing breath control and stuff like that.
Yeah, so ultimately I'm a breathwork, nervous system regulation coach. I help people with somatic work. So taking traditional therapies, if you will, that aren't that effective, so mind-based stuff, so cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which is what most people go to when they've got like some kind of conflict going on in their life. And I help people connect the mind and body component. So rather than talking about your problems, I help people feel the stuff that they've got going on and connect back to their wisdom, their intuition. And I suppose one of the slogans at the moment is like helping people find their magic again. So that's kind of, and you know, Orlando Magic was my team.
Oh yeah, it was.
My youngest son's named Orlando, and then I was coming up with this thing. It's like, fuck, like Orlando Magic, that was just my thing.
Yeah, because you were a Magic fan. I was a freaking Chicago Bulls fan.
Man.
Yeah, man. I remember that now. Yeah, I remember the shit. Yeah.
So that's it, man. That's just kind of, so it's in the corporate setting, kind of, the last few years I've been helping men try to win their wives back or recover from emotional turmoil in a relationship.
When you mean win their wives back, do you mean like doing the work that they should have done?
Yeah, so a lot of these guys have reached out. I was coaching inside of other programs. So I've got this new unique mechanism, and then so other programs are engaging me to come in and teach this specific modality inside their communities. So realistically helping men work through emotional trauma.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys had recognized that the trauma was getting in the way of their relationship and them being able to make changes. Yeah, I promise I'm going to change. And then they can't. And it's not because they don't want to, it's because their system won't allow them to change.
Yeah.
So I was doing that, but what I'd recognized was I built this community of all these men who are in their 50s, 60s, like our dads, that age, and I'm like, fuck, my story's not marriage breakdown, and so I'm coaching and leading a community that wasn't really my story. So I'm helping them, but I noticed there was a lot of resistance and resentment on my side. In a lot of these guys weren't wanting to do this work as well because it's confronting. And so I'm like, fuck, I'm building my own business, but yet I'm resenting it. Like, what, so
you're in the wrong direction.
I've got to pivot. Yeah. So I started to shift it towards where I was at in my pit, which was high achiever, emotionally volatile, excessive sedation on the weekends. It's all about, kicking goals and then getting fucking off my head.
Yeah.
That was my thing. And then destroying relationships along the way, not being able to maintain that because I just kept burning out. So I was like, fuck, that's my story. And then what I wanted to help people with was when I became a father, all of my shit from my childhood came to the surface.
Yeah, 100%.
And those listening probably can relate. It's like, fuck. And I was like, fuck, I've got a lot of stuff that I need to process and deal with. And so part of the message now is helping people reset and not get a second chance at life, but really learn the art of emotional regulation. Because if you can learn that first pillar, then everything else can become available to you. So you can solve a lot of shit by just breathing.
Do you know how fucking trippy it is to sit here and listen to you? We grew up in the same houses, right? Like, we were around each other fucking 24/7 for the first 15, 16 years of our lives. We're talking about two woggy fucking houses, yeah? With like wog parents,
proper
wog ideals, and you're using words like emotional regulation.
What do you mean emotional? That's a regulation.
That doesn't exist, man. That's why it's like, it actually made me smile, man, when you first came up with all, like, because I literally saw everything you're building to. Dude, I've paid attention, I watch the Instas, I see them, and I've watched it grow, and it's been nice because it's like, man, fuck, another guy that got out of the hood, but he's actually like making ground for himself, like, you know what I mean? Like, doing the work, and he's in a good place. Like, it looks like you're in a good place. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, thanks, man.
Like you just said, man, you started this convo off by saying rest in peace to fucking a guy that we both went to high school with. It's like, I heard it on the download like about a year ago or something, like something was up. But
man,
it's like,
quite a few from that era.
Dude, no one believes me. I look at our graduating class, if you had finished at our school, and it's like, man, a third of them are probably gone or in jail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I say this to my wife all the time. I'm like, the kids that I grew up with in like primary school and who I played with, either ended up in prison, massive addictions, like serious, serious stuff, and all have passed away.
Yeah, it's insane. I actually, dude, I was talking about someone yesterday.
Yeah.
I was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was breaking it down. I'm like, man, I knew him since we were fucking kids. He lived a block up from us, just further down towards the park. Good-looking kid, smart, athletic, fucking, he could play soccer, basketball, track, he could do it all. Had the name built for a soccer player.
Yeah.
Went overseas, and then, man, the next time I saw him was a couple years later. He was walking down your street. He was walking down your old street. And I'm like, I pulled over. Like, I went past him, did a Yui, saw him, jumped out. I'm like, man, what's going on? And he's like, yeah, went overseas. He was playing like juniors in the academy for some big EPL team, and then fell into the lifestyle, got hooked on shit, came back.
Yeah.
Next time I saw him, he was missing a tooth. He looked fucked up. I'm like, man, like, how does that happen? Like, kids like that don't get chances like from this area. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, man. It's
anyway. So the one thing I want to ask was that starting off, just for my own fucking sick mind, you made the jump over to the other to finish off ECE purely because you just had too much of a stain on your name here.
Yeah. It was just that, man. I was like, fuck.
Looking at it objectively, though, was it all someone besmirching your good name, or was you legitimate? Like,
like I fucked around. Like I was cheeky.
You weren't cheeky. Look, man,
I was pretty.
Right. Let's not talk shit, okay? Because I remember you, man. You weren't a bad kid, but you were just a fucking shit. You were a shit.
Yeah, I was conniving.
Yeah.
I knew how to turn it up or turn it down.
Yeah, you could go either way.
Yeah.
I think of Bart with the megaphones. Testing. That could have easily been you.
Yeah. But no, in all honesty, I think I got to a point of like, damn, man, like I'm getting blamed for a lot of stuff here. It's just not vibing. And it was actually what had happened. I remember I got into a punch-on with.
Oh, fuck.
And then I got suspended for 2 days. And then during that suspension, my mum's like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. She's like, well, let's go watch a movie at Waverley Gardens.
No,
so, no bus, no driving at the time. My parents didn't drive.
631.
So we jumped on the bus and we're going to Wavos and I see Wellington and kid you not, I'm looking through the window and I'm like, you know what? I want to go to that school. And I just made that decision through that suspension that I'm going to go to that school, and then, went for the process, and they got my report from South Oakley, and they're like, so he likes to wander out of class, and so they put me on a probation. But I got accepted, and I knew no one at this school. So I left, went to this school that I knew no one at, and then bumped into who lived across the road from me.
Oh, yeah.
One day, I hear this, Fabien, and I'm walking around like, and it was her, and I hadn't seen her for 15 years. She was an old neighbour. She's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I've just signed up, I'm at this school now. So, thinking that I'd find the right crowd and I'd do well in VCE. But, and I found the right crowd again.
I was going to say, because it's funny, man, because I actually am mates with a lot of ex-Wellington heads now, the last 10, 20 years. Pretty much after high school, a lot of my new social group was mostly from Wellington, Mulgrave, the Haverbrack method, Everyone in Melbourne knows someone from Haverbrack.
Yes.
It's like standard, especially if you're Greek.
Weren't you living out that way or something as well?
Noble Park, man.
Yeah, that's
I was
right,
in Noble for like 8 years. I think, 2020 is when I moved out. But yeah, I know those boys, man. I know what they were doing.
It's the same, man.
Yeah. So then what happened at that?
So did school, VCE, finished it, just.
Yeah, same.
I wanted to be a Sparky at that point.
Yeah,
and the teacher's like, I'm going to fail you in English if you don't read Macbeth or whatever the book was. And she's like, just read it, and then I'll pass you in English. If I pass you in English, you'll pass your VCE.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to be a Sparky on it. She's like, well, what if you don't? What if you don't like it? And then what are you going to fall back on? So I was like, fuck. So, did it. Got into electrical, and then that was the path for the next kind of 10 years.
Because I remember you were going to the mines.
Yeah.
Every time someone would bring up mine work, I always had you as a reference.
Yeah, that was right at the end. Yeah, well, I was a dream of mine, actually.
Yeah.
And then one day I'm on Seek, and then I see an ad for looking for people in Melbourne.
Yeah.
For this job in mining, and I applied and somehow magically got through.
Yeah, I remember because I'd seen you, and that's I think the last proper chat we had was at the house, and you were just telling me about how you're on 6 weeks off this, that, blah, blah,
4
blah.
weeks, 12 hours.
But you're making good coin. That's what you were really
I was in
about.
so much debt at that point, and I remember that's my first point in my life actually being fully debt free and actually having money in my account that was my money. It was like, I cried. I cut my credit card up because I'd done some stupid shit with that, and it was cash advanced at like 14 grand because I owed people money, and it was just a massive hole. And I got to this mines, and 3rd month, 4th month in, paid off that thing, cut the credit card, and then I had pay in my account, and it was like I was ahead.
How good is it?
I was like, oh my gosh. And I'd made money before, but it was just I was burning it every weekend.
But it's not the stable sort of coin. Like I'd always had work, right? Like after high school, always worked full time or with the school, whatever. But it was fuck all money. And then my first proper job, I went to Europe, came back, and I was broke as a fucking joke. Mid shift of like another job, I took a job in like a logistics thing out this way, and I knew it was going to be like life changing money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, mid shift, I told the employer, I'm like, look, man, I'm halfway through a shift right now. I've got one more roster on tomorrow. I've got to do the right thing, but count me in, dude. I did night shift from like 10:30, 11 p.m. through to 7 a.m.
Oh wow!
Then went to their orientation at 10 a.m. I didn't get any sleep.
Yeah.
And I've walked in and like I'm trying to fill out this paperwork and I'm like just glazed, And I've handed it to the woman, did the test, and I'm like, I'll be honest, like I don't know how I've gone on this test, And the woman's like, well, you've been up for like 24, 28 hours. You've done pretty well, pretty better than anyone else here. So you're fine.
Wow.
I'm like, thank God. Went home and just fell asleep. Following week was my first week of work, and I took on like 8 days straight just because I'll work. First paycheck came in, it was like $1,800 or something. Like something stupid, And I'm like, what do you mean? And then like I paid everything that I had to pay off like there and then, and I still had money, and I'm like, like you said, I cried.
Crazy feeling, man. It's crazy.
Oh my God. Like,
we've been struggling so long, and then, you get those kinds of wins, and you're like,
I don't want to put it down to money, man, but it was just one of those moments, like you just said.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? All right, so hang on. So
it doesn't change us; it amplifies.
Yeah, it opens pathways, man. It opens doors that wouldn't have been open otherwise if you didn't know.
Correct.
All right, so hang on. So you finished your Sparky thing, and you went mining you were there for 10 years?
Nah, Sparky 10 years, mining 2, a year and a half. They went into liquidation. I was traveling in Europe. Got the email 3 months in. Hey, there's no job. Here's a little mini payout. So I was like, all right, 3 months longer in Europe. and then, spend all my money.
Yeah, straight to the knock shop. You know what I mean? Fuck it. That's what you do, man.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, and then that's when I came back, and I was like, fuck, I've got to do something different now. 10 years.
When were you back?
2012.
Fuck, 2012 was such a big year, man. That was like my last year of like a young adult shit. I was moving into Noble Park in 2013.
Yeah, okay.
So 2012 was like let's burn it fucking to the ground. Like, ran myself.
The rebirth.
Yeah. I just went hard on everything.
Yeah.
Worked as much as I could, went out as much as I could, worked on music, fucking did everything. Like like there's no sleep. There's no time. I was sleeping 3.5 hours a night, every night. Yeah. And then 2013 was like the reset after that. Like, all right, let's get some shit in line.
No shit, huh?
Fuck.
That's crazy.
Right. So then how did you fall into, was it real estate after that?
Man, I was sitting in my auntie's house in Paris. Beautiful, beautiful house in Paris. And I was like, got a couple of weeks before I need to come back to Australia. And I'm like, looking up career options, messaging a few people that I knew doing different things. And a couple of them were in real estate. And I just asked them, hey, how's real estate? What's it like? Da-da-da.
Yeah.
And then I looked up honesty and ethics in real estate. I'll never forget that because I'm like, I could do it. But then it's like, fuck, they're scumbags, man. That was my first thought. And hey, I was a bit of a scumbag, but I was like,
going to say,
that's a scumbag in a suit. That was my thought.
It's interesting that you had the foresight to look up ethics.
And honestly, I typed it in Google, and there was a company that surfaced, and it's like, ethical real estate career, earn uncapped this. We'll train you from the ground up. No experience required. I'm like, holy fuck. So I email them. I'm like, hey, I'm in France. I'm coming back. This is my thing. Da-da-da-da-da. And then they sent me all this work to do. They sent me a book. And I had to read this book and then fill out this questionnaire. And I hadn't gotten onto it yet. I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I received a call when I got back to Melbourne. I received a call from the director, and he's like, hey, how you going with that book? And where are you at? Oh, yeah, like I've nearly finished it. Da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, okay, shit, I better get onto this. So I got onto it, and then it was a whole series of tests and whatnot. And then I was like, shit, this guy's pretty cool. And then, I ended up joining this firm in Burwood, and I fucking sucked at it.
Really?
Bro, it was disaster at the start.
Look, if I had to pin, if I looked at you after year 12, right, not knowing what you went through for the next, say, 10 years, but if I looked at year 12, I was like, what job or career is this guy going to end up in? Real estate agent would have been up there, man. You know what I mean?
It does make sense, but
professional shysters that know how to talk shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something in sales, like 100%.
But starting out, it's like I had to door knock for 6 months, 8 months.
What, cold calls?
Just door knock every day, 100 people. The goal was speak to 103 every day. We averaged maybe 80. So you had to knock on fucking 300 doors or make, a couple hundred calls to get those numbers up. That was a requirement. So you couldn't move into sales until you got good at door knocking and achieved a certain level of appointments for the other more experienced agents.
Oh, so wait, you would get the leads and then pass them on to the agents?
Yeah, correct. And you had to get a certain number each month, and if you couldn't, then you're showing them that you weren't ready yet to be out on your own and supply yourself.
That's a punch in the dick, man. That's hard, man.
So, I'm like, all right, cool, I'll knock on the door. Oh, hey, I'm Fabien from... and then it's like, piss off, you wog. Bang, door slammed. Racist. Fuck off, black. Like that, and I'm like, what the? And then the old Clayton boy in me would surface. I'm like, I can open the door. You
take out the letterbox on the way out.
I'd mention a different agency's name sometimes, but that's what it was like. And it got to the point where, man, I was getting rejected left, right, and center. It didn't matter what I said. Then I got to a point where literally I was sleeping in my car. Went and bought a car, bought the suits, put myself in more debt, made an announcement to the world. I'm in real estate. Hey, look at me. And then I'm fucking getting no traction. So I started pulling up at this old church in Burwood. The office was in Burwood. And I parked my car for 4 hours in the middle of the day, pull the seat back, and I'd fucking sleep in the car. Go back to the office, and the boss would be like, hey, how'd you go today? Yeah, good. Yeah, I got quite a few numbers and whatnot. And we're getting paid a salary at that time. No commissions because we weren't selling. And so I was doing that every day for a couple of weeks to the point where I was like, fuck, man, I got to quit. This is but what am I going to do? And the shame and all of that because I'd made these announcements, bought the Audi, had the suits, and then I couldn't cut it. And then I came in one day just to say, hey, man, this is not for me. And I just said to him, how the fuck, how do you win in this industry? I'm competing against these guys 15 years in the game. I still look 12 years old. I'm still looking young. And he's like, what are you doing after work? And I was living in St Kilda in Chapel Street. And I was like, well, we're going to the pub and this, and he's like, you know, your competition is studying, they're learning, they're immersing themselves. He's like, if you're not doing that, he's like, you're going to get eaten alive. So it's like, it's up to you. You can earn what you want in this industry, but you've got to put in the work. And then he's like, yeah, put this CD in your car and only listen to this. And it was Brian Tracy's Psychology of Achievement program, old 6 CD set. And I had that on repeat at the start, and then came home, started studying the area, started, you know, and then, 12, 15 months later, I'm like number 1 agent in that area.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And then, so I was like, and everything kind of cascaded from that.
Sales like that, it's all self-driven. Like, you got to put in whatever. There's no handouts, man. Like, because everyone's competing. Everyone.
Yeah.
And that's the moral. Like, whenever you're doing something that's based around you as a personality, that's why I said, like, I could always picture you as a rep of some kind, selling something, whether it was yourself, because you're selling yourself.
It's interesting, man. You're selling yourself, but then you've got to be good at meeting them where they're at. And that's what I was missing at the start. I was like almost abandoning myself to try to make it work, rather than bringing all those parts of me that all of those parts of us when we were younger, that humour, the funny, all that, but weaved into it. So not trying to be too professional, but not being a jock, having a blend between knowing when to turn on the professionalism and then the humour. And that wasn't refined.
Look, that's a sales technique, yeah? Like, I've been doing sales, like pure sales, probably for the last, 6 years, I think. I hate sales, right? Because I hate selling.
Yeah.
I can never sell something that I didn't believe in.
Yeah. That's the key.
But when you start your own business and you're selling yourself, it's like, well, I believe in me.
Yeah.
So it's easy to sell me. It doesn't matter what the product is, I'll sell me. And that's like getting the person on your side. It's just about immersing yourself into their personality and figuring out where they're at.
That's fascinating, though. See, I struggled selling me. It was easy for me to sell products, not me.
I'm the reverse.
Yeah, that's an interesting dynamic. Some people can sell themselves really well, but then they go to sell something else, and it's a lot harder.
See, I still remember the turning point. It was when I moved into Hyatt. It was probably not long after I watched your first Zoom that you'd done, man. I was going off to see a client. I'd only been running my business for under a year, and you entered COVID, so everything got shut down as well. So I'm about to go see a client, right? And these are the days where you're still pretty amped to go see a client because you're still learning and you're keen, and you're putting the extra effort in to make sure to rock up. And then I remember I was about to leave the house, right? And I doubled back on, man, for meetings and shit, I always wore chinos, shirt, and or a tee and a cardigan or something, you know what I mean? Half professional, half casual. I doubled back to either my laptop or my phone, and I just looked up the client that I was going to go see, and I'm like, oh wait, they're young. Fuck this. And I've taken off my shirt and I've put on a tee and just kept the cardigan in my hand. Yeah. So all you could see was my tats, and I went in like me. And I started chatting to them, and they're like, after 10 minutes, I'm selling, and they're like, you've got this, don't stress.
Yeah.
But blah, blah, blah. That's when I started having fun with it. I'm like, well, fuck this. I go, you're buying me. Whether I turn up in a suit or a t-shirt, it's still me.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So then I started actually getting confidence in selling who I am. Dude,
love that.
We came from the same hood, man.
Yeah,
we know I couldn't sell me to save my life at the start.
Yep.
Yeah, zero confidence. You had all the confidence in the world, though.
Yeah.
Nah, fuck off. Hang on, man. Because our lives were parallel different. They were the same, but as personality types, you were 100% different to me, growing up. I don't think there are many other people that share as many similarities in life as you and I did, man,
true.
growing up.
True.
Same fucking a street away from each other. We both were into our basketball, both into video games. We were both pretty social, we sports orientated.
The basketball team still got those photos, actually.
Do you?
When we were with Anthony and stuff.
Was that
that's when your dad was coach, remember?
My old man was a coach?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
When?
Yeah, fuck. Primary school.
Are you serious?
Swear to God, bro. I've got a photo. I'll send it to you.
All right, I've got to see this.
Yeah.
No, I don't even remember.
Of us in our little orange kind of b-ball get-up.
Orange?
Yeah.
Fuck, that'd be early. Anthony was from primary school. We didn't go past primary school with him.
No.
He moved.
No, it was primary school days. Yeah.
Did he move?
I ran into him, actually, last year.
What?
Yeah. He re-emerged. Well, 5 years ago, actually, and then, he's...
Where is he?
He's in the peninsula. Yeah.
What's he doing?
On the stock market, man. He's dominating there.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
He was another fucking rugrat, man, back then.
Ducks at Monash Uni, he was, in accounting.
What?
Yeah, man. super like photographic memory.
I would never have remembered that.
stuff.
He was worse than you, man.
He was Dennis the Menace.
He was bad. Like, if you actually thought about the shithead kids in primary school, yeah, you were on that list. He was on that list.
Yeah, he was top of the list.
Just writing him off. Fuck off, man.
I remember we went trick-or-treating near his place, and some lady she gave us fruit.
Oh.
Instead of lollies, and we went back and we piffed the fruit at her house. And then she'd come over, and then, we got busted because it's like, well, hang on, whose fruit's this? I gave this to these kids, and...
You're a dickhead. How old were you when you did that, man?
Grade 5.
Okay, it would have been young.
Yeah, 10.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been
9,
doing...
10.
You're fucked, man. Okay, so hang on. So you've gotten into real estate, you're smashing that, then what happened? Just stopping the feed for a second. If you've made it this far and you haven't already, please subscribe to our Spotify, YouTube and social media accounts. For every new like that we receive, we get a crisp $100 bill from Mark Zuckerberg and we put it right back into production costs. This, of course, is absolute nonsense and made up, but we'd still really appreciate the like. And now back to the episode. What was the next? How long were you in real estate?
5-6 years.
Okay.
And then I met a guy. I went to an event to learn how to grow the office because I was sales manager and I was looking to buy in. And then I was like, fuck, I've got to learn how to be a better leader and, business growth. And then there was this guy, Kerwin Ray, who recently just passed away, actually. He was running an event called Fast Growth Summit in Melbourne back then, 2017. It's like learn how to run social media, get leads, blah, blah, blah.
And that would have been like the start of like the social media dominance of marketing. Yeah,
correct. Yeah. So I went to his event. He had like 500 people in the room. I'm like, fuck, this guy, man, he's killing high energy and then I was like, wow. And it just exposed me to this whole world of speaking on stage, coaching. And at the time I was really disengaged at real estate. I was at this point of like, I'd worked so hard to get to this point. Is this actually my dream? Like I was so adamant on getting my name up on the office because it was it wasn't a franchised one. It was a private real estate office. And then I reflected. I was like, fuck, is this even my dream? Like, who am I doing this for? And it was actually coming from a void. It was me trying to get acknowledgement and to show the world how good I was. And it wasn't actually what I really wanted to be doing. What I'd recognized at the time was I was doing real estate and I was sitting in people's lounge rooms all the time. And the thing that I loved the most was hearing their stories. And I felt really at home. As you know, like me, I was always at somebody's house. I was never fucking home. I was in somebody's lounge room at their house. That was just how
You lived in my house, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I'd pretty much be at people's house until they're like, Fabien, do you have a house to go?
You'd come to mine and then we'd be in the pushes and we'd be out of there, just roaming. Standards. We were always in. I can think of like 5 living rooms that me and you were always in, like 100%. From the first 10 years of our lives. Man. You know what I mean?
It's crazy, bro.
Fuck.
So many good times. But yeah, and I like reflected and I was like, you know what? I just don't think I want to do this anymore. I don't think I want to buy in. And it was a big decision. They call it the golden handcuffs. You put a fair bit of money down, you'll get it back.
So that's like what? How long of a commitment would it have been?
Oh, it's a lifetime thing, really. Yeah. When you buy into a firm and then your name's up on there, I mean, you can get out of it, of course, but and then I just thought, you know what? No, I'm done, and I just resigned.
That's it.
Yeah, I resigned. I went in, and the writing was on the wall because when I got married the year before,
I was at your wedding. I just remembered. Yeah, Oakley. It was fucking stinking hot day.
Yeah.
I remember. Man. You were in the like a tannish sort of suit. Like
yeah.
I'm like, look at this pimp.
Yeah.
That's what I'm like, when did this guy get so fucking trendy, man? I still remember it.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. Okay.
Well, we went away for 5 months and like on our honeymoon. And at that point I was like kind of already starting to feel somewhat disengaged. And then I just resigned. And then he's like, well, what are you going to do? He's like, what? No, he's expecting me to talk about the next stages.
Signing up, yeah.
And then I'm like, look, I think I'm going to resign. I just don't think I'm feeling this anymore. And he's like, okay. And so...
Did they try to like keep you on board?
No, he's never... he always used to say, you'll never know if a bird is yours until you let it out of the cage. And if the bird flies home, then it was yours to begin with. That was always his thing. So
that's a good saying.
Yeah. And that stuck with me. So, yeah. And then a week or 2 weeks after my resignation, I get an email from this Kerwin company saying, hey, we're looking for sales superstars in coaching and this and that. And Jackie, my wife at the time, she's like, hey, you should check this out. And then, and then I applied for a role. The company was in Sydney, and he's like, "You've got the role, but you've got to come and move to Sydney." I was like, "Fuck!" And we were trying for a kid at the time. That wasn't happening, so I took it. But I was flying back, and Jackie stayed here, and I was flying back to Melbourne every second weekend, and she'd fly up every third or whatever. And then I did that for like 5 months, and then she wasn't falling pregnant. Well, there's lots of stress flying backwards and forwards, and then the role wasn't really lining up for me. I was like stuck in, I wasn't out moving. I was stuck in this office selling over the phone all day.
Yeah,
I was like, fuck, I need to be moving. And so, yeah, and then I left, came back, and then at the same time, Jackie fell pregnant, actually, and it was like, okay, family in Sydney or family in Melbourne? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
The decision was, Melbourne. So I came back here, started my own consulting, coaching business after that, and then just have built from that.
What year was that? That would have been...
It's 2017.
Okay, cool.
Yep, end of 2017.
Shit, so for 2017, you did that for 5 months.
Yep, and then started my consulting business 2018.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
And then, yeah.
And had no idea who I was going to work for or things like that. I'm going to do it, and then, shit, who's my niche? Who am I going to serve? What am I going to offer? And I was in that whole, all right, let me do sales training, leadership training, mindset training,
and then
stuff that I knew.
Now it's like you're a breatharian.
I know, it's a crazy...
It's been 5 years since I first saw your first workshop go up about like trauma and PTSD and all that shit.
Well,
so
that's when my trauma started to happen. So son was born 2018.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on with me? I can't get out of bed, struggling with anxiety, just having more benders.
Did you always have anxiety?
I think I always had social anxiety.
Really?
Which is, yeah, and this is weird. I'd always get worried every time I'd have to go to a social event. I'd hate going to birthdays.
How old? When
I just always remember it. I always remember when I had to go into a new setting.
What, even as a kid?
As a kid, even, and I would
man.
outperform the anxiety, which is why you would see that in me. In that, like, oh, he's just got the gift of the gab. I would find a way to try to overpower the anxiety by doing something. So it's creeping up, and I'd find a way to either entertain or say something to try to reduce the anxiety that I was experiencing.
See, because I had that as well, but I would never have thought you would have had that. That's what I'm saying.
You had the social anxiety in the other way, of being more afraid to.
It was the same thing. I was anticipating shit going down, so by countering that, I would sit there doing fucking impressions or whatever. I learned how to do impressions from like a young age just because I realized people were like laughing. So it's like, well, if they're not laughing, if they're laughing with me, they're not laughing at me. So we're good. But
that's why we got along.
I know, but dude, I would Malaka, I've fucking known you since 1989. I'm only hearing about this now for the first fucking time. There is literally, like I said about John, man. John, I've known him since prep. I've known you since 89. And you've lived a block from me. So aren't many people that fall into that category that can say, yeah, I actually know that cunt like 30 years plus.
Since
you know what I mean? Yeah, but like I said, your type A personality then, I would never have never chalked it up to social anxiety ever. I had it. I know I had it. But I would never have assumed. We were like chalk and cheese when it came to social shit.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
What do you reckon it stemmed from? Like in your case?
Well, I know where it stems from. So my one in particular, look, most anxiety is a separation of self. Not most anxiety, all fucking anxiety is a separation of self in the moment. So it's just a split between you in the now and then a younger version of you. So for me, my anxiety was stemming from when I walked in the rooms, especially birthday parties. I'd hate getting to birthday parties late when everyone's already in there and I've got to walk into the venue and then everyone turns to look. That was like used to be my worst nightmare of like, fuck, people are looking at me. What are they thinking? What are they saying? And that's derived from how I think and view myself. So if I've constantly put myself down or said that I'm not good enough or judged myself, then I carry that forward in, well, this is how I'm treating me. What are they probably thinking, right? So my one in that social anxiety, it stems from the inability to see oneself. And that's that split in the moment. So when we experience anxiety or depression, it's a separation of self in the moment. So it's where there's no longer a secure attachment within yourself. And now it's what creates the anxiety, which is I've now separated from myself. And, in a more clinical term, they can call it like disassociation as an example, which is the highest level of separation within the nervous system, which is why I do this work now. So yeah, that was my thing. It was that I didn't have the capacity to see myself in those moments. And so I'm walking in and then there's this separation taking place and there's this judgment. And the separation, and a nice way that I like to say it is, it's like you leave your body and you go into your mind. And in your mind, you're attempting to strategize, analyze, mentally masturbate what the fuck's going on here. And whilst you're there, you're not actually present. You're not available in the moment. You're here. And that separation creates the tension, creates the suffering. So
you said something before about the whole thing about buying into that firm was about getting the recognition that you thought you deserved. Like the more I think about it, the more that triggers me a lot. Like getting the recognition, right? For me, especially with men, most men live lives where they don't get recognised. Yeah. They'll never get that medal. They'll never get a pat on the back. They could work 50 years and never have someone say, "Well done." You know what I mean? For me, that's really, really fucking important.
Yeah.
So what was the shift for you, like, after that? Like, as in, from seeing your name up on, like, a firm wall, how did you change that in your head? Like, as in...
It didn't really make sense at the time. It was just more knowing that I don't think this is my path yet. Like, this just doesn't feel right.
Do you reckon you got recognised growing up? Like, the shit you did, like, for things that were worthwhile? I don't mean, like, burning a classroom down, but, like...
Yeah, I did. I did in some ways, but what I've discovered is that our voids drive our values.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is the things that we lacked growing up are the things that we seek.
Yeah, 100%.
Growing up, and so on the one part, you said it before that a lot of men don't get acknowledged enough, but even when they do, a lot of us can't receive it. Because there's a part of us that doesn't feel adequate enough, and so we'll sometimes block it. Like, "Oh, you're a legend, man. Thank you so much." Well, then, man, I didn't do anything. It was all you. There used to be, and that reflected back to me in one of the juniors that I was coaching in real estate. He came to a party with me, with my friends, and one of them came up to me. He's like, "Fuck, man." He's like, "You've changed my life so much. Yeah, you helped me through that dark time, blah, 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 blah." And in that moment, I'm like, dude, man, I'm like, you just, man. And I was like blocking it. And this kid who's 19, he's like, "Fabien, man, he's telling you you've done great and you changed his life. Like, fucking
own it, yeah.
I don't receive that." And it hit me at that point. I was like, "Oh, fuck, I don't have the capacity to receive." Like,
Why do you reckon that is?
Self-worth. There's an element of us feeling that we're undeserving.
Yeah, but actually, I feel that as well, right? And I have people now pointing to my timeline and sort of saying, "Dude, you did A, B, and C." And I'm like, that's nothing, man. Like, I've got fucking so much other shit I need to focus on or whatever. It's irrelevant. Doesn't everyone fucking do that?
Yeah.
For me, that's my answer. Doesn't everyone do this? Isn't this normal?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's like, what do you mean? This is bare basic. I've got so much other shit I need to achieve. Where do you feel like this lack of self-worth came in? Because like I said, growing up, you were fucking brimming with confidence on the outside. And I'm saying this, dude, as a neutral observer and as a kid who was like your mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we were in the same classroom, same group of friends. Never would have thought that you would have seen yourself as undeserving, ever. So I'm asking, where do you reckon it came from?
Oh, it comes from...
No.
It came from my upbringing.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't give me some roundabout bullshit where that you give up.
No, it's all the same. It's all the same.
You're talking to me.
It's all,
Fuck you, okay? I went to the same pizza party as you did, right? Yeah, I don't think... Where do you reckon it came from with you? Because like, I know where it came from with me.
Yeah,
that's what I'm asking.
It comes from parents who are not emotionally available, ultimately. So parents who are caught up in their own storms and who are trying to do the best that they can, but don't have the capacity to meet a child's needs where they're at. So a big part of an overachiever or a big part of somebody who doesn't have the capacity to receive and is always giving stems from a fact that there is a program instilled in the nervous system, not in the mind, of you have to behave in this particular way in order to create safety at home or to receive acknowledgement, i.e., a lot of the times parents will only pay attention to a child when they're performing well, when they're doing things well. And when they're not doing things well, they receive either criticism or they're ignored, as an example. So part of mine is on the two part. I had a dynamic growing up where my parents were, struggling with their own stuff. Now that I do this work, I can see, which is the same stuff that I struggled with. And then I had a brother doing the best that he could, and trying to mold me the best way he could. But developmentally, there's gaps left. And what I've discovered is that, again, this separation of self. If we don't find a way to address our own needs and reparent ourselves, i.e., the whole work of life, I believe, is to become the parent you never had to yourself first. And that's what I teach parents now. They're like, I need to do this with my child. I was like, no. I said, there's a little kid inside of you first that needs you to see them where they're at and then bring them into the moment now. Then you can actually parent from that perspective, you know.
I know I used to give my old man a lot of grief, like growing up. I was always like an ally of his, like especially my dynamic, man. I mean, you know my house I grew up in, and my sister and my fucking mum run and ride as well. So I always gave my old man an ally just so there wasn't someone backing him up. But I understand him better now than I did then. And like, especially in the last couple of years, like shit sort of, I did a bit more delving into it, bit more talking, bit more research. And it's like, okay, well that explains A, B and C. So I'm definitely like kinder to that memory now than I was then.
What feelings came up for you when he did pass? Like, what was it? Was it mixed? Did you?
It was. I don't know, man. It's hard to explain. Like I think about it now, and it's like, I said it like he did what he could. He did as best as he could, as best as he knew. You know what I mean? And that's like as far as that recognition thing goes. My old man never had anyone recognise anything he did to the degree that they should have at any point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd sit there and, like you said, either not understanding his own value, not understanding his own capabilities. Dude, my man could speak 4 languages. Taught himself 4 fucking languages. And I said to him, dude, go to fucking, I'll get all the info for you, do a fucking course for 12 months, you'll get enough accreditation to be a translator or an interpreter down at Centrelink, you'll be writing your own checks. You know what I mean? You know, at school, this and that, I don't know. But I'm like, motherfucker, like if I had your linguistic skills, I'd be killing it. You know what I mean? And it was always like playing his shit down. One time he asked me to do a resume for him because he needed it where he was working. This is years ago, right? This is like more than 10, 15 years. I was still in Clayton. And he's asked me to do a resume for him because he was being put up for some fucking managerial role and they just wanted something like just for paperwork, basically, right? So I'm sitting there running him through like, okay, well, this is what you're going to include. So I'm doing his resume. Like, so what do you actually do, like, you know, in your day-to-day? And he's doing everything, man. Stock control, fucking timetables, rosters, like everything. Everything that like a 2IC would be doing or a floor. But I'm like, motherfucker, they should be, like, you should be...
You're running the business,
yeah,
mate.
You should be owning a franchise here, not fucking working for them. Like, are you for real?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, this is just what they tell you to, this is what you do. So I do it. I'm like, oh my God, bro. But that's the thing. You know what I mean? Like, you never have hindsight. You know what I mean? What do you say to an old wog? You know?
Well, that's the thing. It's like what got passed down, right? It's like work hard, you do this, you know, don't let a pat on the back turn into a massage, right? That's like the cultures, like where they came from, right? It's like,
oh, fucking
hard work is expected, not like you worked hard, well done. It's like, man, it's just the fucking...
Well done. You can have dinner now. Go home. You have a shower because you can be up again tomorrow morning.
Man. Yeah.
I remember your brother... what's the gap between you and your brother?
He'd be nearly 50 now. So 10 years.
10 years or so. Yeah. One of my earliest memories, man, when people asked me about hip-hop, there was like, what were your fucking first forays into hip-hop? I'm like, me? 2 things. One, listening to Bow Down Westside Connection with Mark at the back of the Nets at that on his old boombox he used to steal from his cousin. Yes, yeah. And 2, listening to the All Eyes on Me album in your brother's room. So it was like 95 or 96? 96.
Yeah,
All Eyes on Me.
96.
Yeah, so we would have been like 11.
Yeah.
Your brother would have been like 20, 21.
Yeah, he would have been nearly 21. Yeah.
And he always had time for us, like with shit like that. That's one thing I remember.
Yeah, 100%.
Which was fucking cool.
Yeah, fuck that album. That's still floating around, that album, actually.
Oh, yeah, 100%, man. I was listening to it the other day.
It's in one of those big CD cases with all the...
My mum's got those, man. I borrowed a car last week because my car was cooked and I was in Clayton. I'm like, Ma, I'm going to borrow your work car because I got my work car's at the shop. Cool. I got in and the first thing she had these fucking CDs, these wallets like everywhere.
Remember those? Man. Like, who's got my CD wallet? Who's got my good one? No, the blue one.
Fuck, man. You're taking me through it. This is so fucked up, man. Okay, so you got into your own, you started your consultation thing.
Yep.
How did you actually like working for yourself, like 100%?
Fuck, it was hard.
Yeah.
That was part of the breakdown. Going from being a great salesperson to then having to run all the aspects of a business, ADHD, unresolved trauma, another baby on the way because 12 months later, Jackie falls pregnant again. Then I got this looming court case. Shit was going down. Yeah, this is part of the dark night of the soul thing for me. So 2019, got the business, got a baby, got a 1-year-old, another one on the way. Business is not doing great. I'm struggling to get out of bed, anxious, all over the joint, all of this stuff from our past, you know, surfacing. And then get into this fight at the footy with this guy who was drunk and he was causing trouble, tried to diffuse things, didn't go to plan. And then this dude ends up in a coma.
No shit.
Yep. And, you know, and then I get a knock on the door, go to court, and then I'm staring, you know, potentially prison because I'd had a record beforehand doing stupid shit. And it's like if this guy doesn't wake up properly, like you're fucked. And so my wife's pregnant with her second child, and I'm staring 5 years, whatever, I don't know. And it's like, fuck, if the court doesn't see all the evidence and how everything kind of, you know, eventuated.
Was it literally just that? Like, drunk dude, you tried to diffuse
He's drunk,
it?
yeah, but then there was part of it, they're saying, oh, you could have, instead of, like, trying to diffuse things, you could have walked away. It's like, well, he was fucking wild, and I was, like, trying to go in, hey, man, you want a kebab? Do you need some water? Do you want me to get you an Uber? Like, that's what I was trying to do, and he's like, yeah, fuck it, and he just starts going off and whatever. Yeah. But, yeah, so it was an interesting, without getting into all the detail of it. But, yeah, so I was like, fuck, everything was falling apart, man, at that point. I was like, fuck, and then my grandma passes away. I can't go to her funeral because I've got caught. So I got caught. My grandma dies, and my wife is due in 3 days or 4 days, all at the same time with our second child. And I'm like, you know, fuck. And then fortunately, yeah, got off it to an extent, like, you know, didn't go to prison. Yeah, that was just kind of the wake up call. I was asking for business help. Like, if I can get the business sorted, then, you know, maybe everything will take care of itself. And I just asked for help in a business group. And I'll never forget, man, this one dude, I had 50 people comment, like, all serious business people. I can help you with this and strategy. And this guy's like, I can help you, full stop. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Just, that's all he says, no context. And then he sends me a private message and he's like,
be at my house.
Yeah.
Wearing nothing but a coat.
He's like, it was Thursday. It was a Thursday. And he's like, can you get to, it was a Wednesday actually. He's like, can you get to Canada by Friday?
What?
And I was like, who the fuck is this guy think he is? Firstly, he just says, I can help you. Secondly, it's like, come to Canada. I'll look it up. By the time I'd organise a flight and whatever, it wasn't going to happen. And I would have done it, but he was triggering me, and I leant into the trigger, and I was like, he's like, here's my calendar. Let's get on a call. And the only time slot he had was like 4:30 in the morning. And he's like, your wife needs to be on the call too.
What?
So we wake up. It's 4:30 or whatever it is, and we jump on his call, and then he's just like bang, bang, bang. Starts speaking about trauma, how it impacts the nervous system, inner child work, all of this stuff that I now teach. And Jackie's in tears, like, because he's explaining what life would be like for her living with me, going through all of this. And I'm like, fucking motherfucker, all right? That's a good sales pitch.
Just spattering everything up.
And so, yeah, that's what led me onto the work, man. So I went deep on my stuff since 2019 in this particular work. I'd done NLP, neurosemantic work previously, heaps of, NLP, personal development, all the Brian Tracy, all that stuff. I'd done 15,000 hours of that shit.
Yeah.
I've been to every fucking personal development course you could think of. But this somatic work was the missing link. It was like, oh shit, all of this stuff analytically, logically, this mental masturbation that we try to process all of our feeling problems through thinking, which is the reason why most of us stay stuck. And then I unlocked all of my shit, and then I'm like, fuck, this is, I think, what I want to teach. Helping other people that are going through the similar kinds of challenges.
Where did all this come from, though, man? Because, I mean, like, you grew up in the same shit that I grew up in, and it's not in our culture to fucking, reach out for help. Yeah. You said you literally got online asking for help.
Yeah.
That's unheard of. Wogs don't ask for help. They'll die before they ask for help.
I know.
And two, you're talking about unpacking childhood trauma.
Yeah.
Two things that we'd never, ever, ever be told to fucking do.
Well, that's the thing.
Where?
Well, that's the thing. There wasn't a link there. There was stuff coming up for me, but I knew that I'd been through some stuff, but I thought, I've become a real estate agent. I'm past that now. Like, I'm not in that phase of life anymore. I've overcome it. Yeah. So my question for help was a business question. Hey, I need help with avatar marketing. That we're stuck here thinking that if I just solve my financial issues, like getting the business working, everything else will take care of itself. And the interesting thing is most high performers think the same. So many guys reach out to me, be like, hey, dude, like I don't really have much trauma. Childhood was pretty good. Dad was, fair, hard, whatever. I just need help over here. But they can't see the connection between those two. It's like, okay, cool. And then we start to peel it back and they're like, fuck, I didn't realize this shit when I was 7 is now playing out in my life as a 45-year-old. Oh shit, I can't believe that my wife is actually representing my mother. Holy fuck, I can't believe I'm like my wife's dad. Like this whole... Because
we just fall into the roles.
We recreate what's familiar growing up. That's what
did
I
it look like for you, man, unpacking all that? Did you go back, like to, say, your parents or your brother? Did you start did you reconnect with anyone? Did you start looking through photos? Like, how did you start, figuring it out?
It's a process, man. But, there was a lot of what I call, like, restoring integrity in relationships. So relationships that were ruptured, going in and repairing that shit, making peace with my parents and what I went through there. Still some relationships that haven't been repaired, that are still trigger points that are tough to deal with because there's only so much you can do as a person. I can integrate in things that you may have done to me or vice versa, but if the other person's not really willing to explore any of that, then you've got to be able to make peace within it yourself.
You know what keeps me up? It's not necessarily relationships that I've either walked away from or just gone belly up and I can't be fucked. It's like, no, that's a dead end. It's the ones, people that have no idea of the trauma that has like lingered for 30 fucking years. Do you know what I mean? That's the shit that keeps me up at night. Do you know what I mean? I'll be driving and then something will trigger like a name or a fucking song. I'm like, fuck that cunt, man. Like I'll think back to 20 years ago. It's like, no, I should have punched that fucker in the face, not just let him walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the shit that keeps
Still
me
holds
up.
an energetic charge in the system.
Yeah. So how do you deal with that?
It's a process. Sign up to my
30 days.
Well, look, ultimately what I say is this, is that every trigger...
Trouble sleeping? Problems with the wife.
For $9.95. Buy now, pay later.
Plus.
So funny.
Like legit. Like...
It's funny, I came out of somebody else's funnel just before when it was literally like I couldn't get out of their funnel until it was like, are you sure you don't want to take up that offer I just shared? I'm like, motherfucker, give me my 10 minutes back, man. I don't want that thing and I can't get out of this thing.